you put it back in the deck, you draw it again with Swindle, you put it back in the deck, you draw it again with Swindle, you don't put it back in the deck, and then you use it once more just on the board with Sinister Strikes and Wicked Stabs to end the game. So because Seiko is going to play 0 minions for the entire game, RDU is going to have very slow quest completion on average. If he's going to have slow quest completion on average, he's going to be getting spanked by some shanks extremely fast as long as Seiko can get to a weapon in a timely fashion.
Yep, RDU will be looking for those one thieves. There's one of them, so that's a good start. He did keep the barrier in the Mulligan as well, so that's at least a plan to get Frost checked off. He does have to do everything else in the meantime, though, so Seiko definitely has the initiative here if he can find his way towards one of those weapons in the list.
One of these days, I know it's bad, but I just want to see someone shoot them for 3 on turn 1.
It sounds good to me, so. Okay, it's a quest on to play that.
I think particularly with weapon not in hand, it's particularly ridiculous though, right? Like if you already have like a weapon Silverleaf Poison hand, then maybe we can talk about it, but he just needs to cycle aggressively for the weapon here to the point where we are, I think, extremely likely draw dependent to be seeing Coin Secret Passage. Well, he might now prep Secret Passage instead, but I would still expect to see the Secret Passage coming down this turn, looking for one of those 3 mana weapons from the deck.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is Coin just better than prep for this situation because the prep reduces stuff by 2 and there's tons of spells, yes, right? So the Coin is actually just correct if you want to just take it from a raw value-based analytical approach. Most importantly though, Seiko's got the shank.
Yep. Axe with the dagger, going to load up maximum value on this shank, make sure he's getting damage efficiency through, thinks that he's still got a significant amount of time left in the matchup to be able to chew through all these shank charges, and he's probably correct because he saw Ice Barrier come down on curve there, right?
Yep, slight wince from RDU as well as the weapon comes down. We've all been there. It's the one card he didn't really want to see. At least he can get the quest cooking a little bit here. He's not really doing it in the best way possible, but he's doing it in the way he can, which is all that really matters.
It's got to be said, he's doing it in an extremely good way overall. Like this
that's
number
what I mean.
of minions alongside extremely cheap spells in the early game, this is so much quest progression to get done by turn 4 in this matchup. This is an outrageously fast quest start for RDU so far. Well, it's probably not rigged fair game.
Well, if Seiko doesn't have any poisons, will he waste a charge?
Oh my god, they're so awful. All of them are so bad, right? Like,
yeah. It's not like yesterday where Ty's picked up a super early Flame Strike and it paid off tons for him. It was against Shaman, of course, but still.
Frame Freeze goes in. Tick off Frost on step 2, so he's now Arcane away from quest line 2 and has the lab partner First Flame lined up in hand for the fire tick on the 3rd. Means he is just, what, a second Ice Barrier and an Arcane spell away from completing 3rd step as well?
It's one of the few silver linings to the matchup. Although there are no minions, your opponent is proccing the Ice Barrier, so you get to cast the second one, right? That's not even a question.
And sorry, my mistake, I did not spot the Prize Plunderers in Seiko's list as I was looking it over, so he's not playing the singular minion version. He is playing a couple of Prize Plunderers in there as well. But the same point still applies. Those Prize Plunderers are not going to be played onto the board at any point if Seiko can afford to do so.
I definitely just breezed past it because I took the comment as you meant it. There won't be minions played until that one is played at the end, and that's still true. The Prize Plunder is not going to be involved in their second weapon, which isn't really a factor in this game at this point, so a bit of a dead draw there for Seiko. No way for RDU to get weapon destruction or even discover it. Did he just play a Cloak? Is that madness? What if he gets Fireball in the face this turn? Again.
For Ice Barrier Shattering Blast. Oh, hits the Shattering Blast. That's insane, but he does also hit in-canter's Flow, which it's incredibly tempting. When you have as deep and involved a relationship with the card in-canter's Flow as RDU does, it's very hard to skip one. I think he's done quite well to avoid the bait there. I really do like the Shattering Blast pick instead.
Something so pure about this deck from Seiko, isn't there? Big weapon, smack him in the face. Don't even play any more cards. Just pass. You've got enough damage.
Aren't you the man who says that Kingsbane Rogue is his least favorite deck of all?
That was different.
How is it different?
It just was.
Okay.
Different meta, different age.
Hmm.
I mean, to be fair, RDU's fault for also playing a silly deck, right? It's just all spells and no minions to pressure to make Seiko trade.
Ooh, that ice barrier.
Big deal. But Seiko has double cloak, so will that just be enough time?
I mean, almost certainly, yes. But RDU has done just about everything he could possibly do in this scenario to create a clock that might be favourable for himself. That second ice barrier might, in his mind, just give him a little bit of extra time here. But I think the threat of the 2 cloaks is going to be too much to deal with, as you mentioned.
Also, that's why it's all lifesteal. Is why Kingsbane was horrendous.
Okay.
Yeah, cloak. Oh, now there's some spell damage for the Sinister Strike as well. Can you just play it now? Can you just like spell damage, prep, dab, cloak?
I don't see why you would. Because you could just cloak, right, and just have more spell damage available.
Counter spell? Is that ever a thing?
I mean, you've saved the prep, so you can just burn the prep into the counter spell the next turn, and it's just, you still...
Okay, yeah, sure.
I don't think there's any real reason to do anything this turn apart from play the cloak and set up.
And Psycho's like, aha, I'll play my minions now.
Yeah.
Take that. Actually pretty important as well, right? Because now they don't obviously progress quest, but they do push damage, so RDU has to be a little bit fearful.
I have proven myself. I demand answers.
This is going to be the drawback from not playing flow. These are all going to be full cost, probably looking for a flurry.
Doesn't get it. Wasn't going to matter anyway. He was super dead regardless of what he did that turn. And that is just the power of this matchup for the Weapon Rogue. And just in case he needed it, more damage with Wicked Stabs come off the top, making that preparation actually useful now.
Can you kill him without swinging the weapon? Here he can, right?
Yep, he sure can.
Yeah, really rough matchup. And again, it's going to be interesting as we move through this series as Seiko takes game number 1. As you mentioned, right? Like which sort of countering the standard lineup is going to be better when they start to face each other, right? Like Seiko's going for this super aggro approach, RDU going for more combo disruption sort of heavy style. So 1-0 to Seiko with this rogue, which means he has his own warlock left over, which I guess for both players the warlock's kind of like the losing deck at this point. And then Seiko has his own mage as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of it hinges on how you feel about the Handlock versus Mage matchup, and I know generally people tend to feel like the Mage is slightly favoured, but I do think that matchup can be a little bit tricky if played by particularly good Handlock players, just because the card Cult Neophyte in particular can be so brutal if timed well, if put in the Raise Dead pool. You know, if you just keep raise deading the whole game and just keep hitting threat plus Neophyte and are able to pressure down efficiently, that can be a real problem for the Mage to deal with. Particularly if they feel pressured into burning Flurry in the early game as just a quest tick, for example. Like, you know, you play your first Knoll out on curve and they just flurry it because that's the frost spell that they have in hand that they're looking to complete with. Suddenly that they can potentially run out of a little bit of juice in the late game. But still, I think the general consensus is that that is a Mage favoured matchup, but it is probably one where the Warlocks feel like they have a little bit of wiggle room in the series.
And it is the matchup we're going to dive into as Seiko moves on to his Mage and RDU's jumping across to his Warlock here. So again, it'll be very interesting to see how this one plays out. I do agree though, the games I lose and the games I've seen people lose in GM, tournament streams, whatever, is when there's those, just the Neophytes dotted in throughout turns, the threats, and then the dawngrasp turn becomes very difficult because a lot of the time the dawngrasp has to be played into a threatening board. And then you're like, well, can I play dawngrasp for just flat 5 mana, normally on turn like 7, and do enough to not die, and then to gain a whole turn to then do, you know, quest mage things where shenanigans happen and people die. So yeah, it will be important here for RDU to pile on the pressure.
And that's where one of two things become very important, right? Firstly, the flurry that I was talking about, because that's super clutch on your Varden turn, right? Normally, even through Cult Neophyte, you're able to go Varden flurry and then just lock things out. However, if that's not available to you, you're going to need in-canter's flow, so that you're at least able to like brain freeze first flame a couple of things away that cost 0 or perhaps cost 1 if a Cult Neophyte has come down at the same time.
Right.
I've started calling it Varden. I wasn't calling it Varden before,
and now you are.
I am just doing it deliberately. Yeah.
Not technically wrong.
No, I know.
Not technically right. Pretty decent opener here from Seiko, just having access to a good range of cards. I guess the fire sale is a bit over the top, but he can just tradable it away. Coin intellect. Seiko going to get some more resources in hand, look for easier ways to proc through this quest. But RDU on the bottom side, he's not hit the big threats yet, but he does have the Cult Neophyte, so he's at least got a plan for if we can get some threats down early and back them up with that plus spell cost ability. I could go for trade in here for the fire sale. He has options to like just play a 1 thief now and then burn it with first flame.
Yeah, it'd be uncomboed though is the problem, right? On
Yeah,
the 1 thief, which looks kind of ugly.
Okay, just gonna chuck an ignite out and combo the one thief this way.
Yep, seems good. This isn't really one of those matchups where you tend to need your own minions as targets for removal spells, right? Like the Handlock plays plenty of pressure down against you most of the time for you to be doing that with.
Yeah, it'll be purely like the benefit of the other turn I suggested, although I think this is just better. I think the benefit is just you don't put the ignite back in the deck, right? Like you can maybe fish for better stuff for now, because the ignites are only really needed in the final stage of the game, but yeah, this is still just good.
Is Varden just everywhere? Like, is that them on the Shattering Blast art as well?
Yes. Like loads of the free spells, right?
Okay. Again, you know I'm not the most observant person when it comes to card art.
You know they're on Flurry as well, right?
No.
Look at Flurry, top left. The hair gives it away. Well, now it's grey, come on.
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine looking at art.
Yeah, you just listen to it, Sal, don't you? Every day when I cast with you.
That's quite good.
I can get away with things when Sal's sick, guys. It's great. Another Arcane intellect here for Seiko, doing a really good job actually of just really pushing through his deck, and that's what you want to do. The only unfortunate thing is, I have to just check something here if Seiko's actually a European Grandmaster, because we have not seen flow at all.
There we go.
As if by magic, it was summoned. Feels a little bit bad to play it at this point, but it's still a good half of his deck that's going to get reduced. It's not terrible. It's just when he's staring at 4 mana fireballs in his hand, 3 mana Arcane Intellect, feels a tad expensive.
Yeah. And this is kind of the situation that I was talking about. It did freeze a giant, the flurry, but it has been used essentially more as a quest proc than as an actual, you know, reduction of danger, right? It's not hitting 2 minions, it's not allowing a tempo swing, which is what you can really do with dawngrasp later on in the game. It has just been kind of used up here to deal with 1 giant, so you do have to ask that question. But again, I talked about the dynamic before. You kind of need one or the other, right? You need Incanters flow on your deck, or you need to hoard flurries as hard as you possibly can. So I don't think it's a huge coincidence that Seiko was willing to get rid of the flurry there on the first turn that the Incanters flow was found.
Hey, Sol. See the ignite in hand?
Yes.
Look what characters in the background.
Oh, wow!
Got more where that came from. This is tough though, and this is like the setup, right? Like obviously you were talking to it before I started joking around, but the double Neophyte makes, especially with a lack of early enough Incanters flow, like perfect. Yeah, the giant's dead, but that's Seiko's whole turn. Even RDU pushing 6 here and getting to at least refill to some extent is a big deal. Able. You push forward with the quest. Deal 3, heal 3. Still some extra damage being pushed. Also reduces those giants down for the potential raise dead. Which is guaranteed, right? Or am I going crazy?
Guaranteed for what, sorry?
A giant?
Giant tour guide exactly at this point?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, that turn will make it easily cheap enough to play. Oh, yeah.
Down to 0, comes back down. Again, I think the only thing stopping this from being absolutely perfect is that he would love to be getting back giant Neophyte every time, right? As opposed to giant tour guide. Giant tour guide is a very good consolation prize, though.
I would have loved the high risk play. Like touch Neophyte, then raise dead, and be like, go giant.
This is turbo Tamsin as well from
another giant.
Here. It's the other giant, 10 cards in hand.
So fast.
Giant down. This is ridiculously fast from RDU.
The only slight fear is being on 17 health. Seiko could potentially get close to killing him soon. If he doesn't die himself, and he's not finding freeze as far as I can see, Subtle.
Nope.
He has the hot streak for fireball plus second flame to kill 1 giant.
Curious.
Still likely he dies at that point to a... what are we calling this? Happy cow? Is that what we're on this week?
Thanks for playing along.
There you go. And look how desperate. Seiko has to just play the Thanos just to draw some additional cards, to just try and find some level of freeze, something, anything to help him clear up this board, or at least stall it out so he can gain a new additional turn.
The deck's so cheap as well that he might be able to just pick large amounts of this apart just with 0 mana removal spells. But having now hit the flurry, he can probably just shoot the smaller minions, freeze the big ones at this point. That looks pretty premium. Will confess, I don't know how this quite fits into his quest plan.
Yeah.
Just the frost needed this turn, okay. So even though this is awkward ordering, right? Like you might want to order this in chat because obviously he's cast a frost spell last, completed the quest, but then he's already played fire spells. He had to do it in that order because the more important thing was freezing exactly the 2 giants, right? So he had to kill all of the other things first to get there.
And he has more than enough fire spells to proc for free anyway, right? He's not like, oh no, I've run out. He's got plenty of the spells to proc. It's just the mana restriction is really the big problem for him, right?
Hey Ray, you see that little person on Fireball getting like absolutely immolated by fire? That's Varden.
No, it's not. Factually incorrect, Sol.
Prove me wrong.
It came out before Varden was even created as a character.
Yeah, that's a pretty good argument.
Yeah. It's more likely Millhouse because it looks like a gnome.
I'm not getting any younger.
More bones to gnaw on.
I must hasten.
Are you just maximizing board pressure here? Can remove the Thanos. Does draw Seiko a card, but again, got to be a little bit more scared of that spell damage, and that card draw is going to happen no matter which way you slice it. But once again, Seiko on the back foot here, and you were saying it, Sol. This is what the Warlock needs to do in this matchup. Pressure, 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 pressure.
Yep, absolutely. And that's 2 flurries down now even, and still some way away, at least, from the quest reward. But as I mentioned, it's a good consolation prize to have this many discounted spells, because now there's the fire sale for 2 mana, which can end up being incredibly crucial here. Can Seiko not get dawngrasp down and just fire sale for AoE? Okay, it looked like he was about to just cast it or trade it there, but I feel like that's a pretty key piece of puzzle right now, yeah.
Hot Streak might come in clutch as well to just clean this up, right? Wait,
what's happened?
Oh, he needs Arcane. He needs Arcane.
This is fine. Yeah, he needs Arcane.
Yep.
Gets the reward, and now he can hot streak and fire sale at the end of it.
Perfect. Big clear there for Seiko, and suddenly
I demand answers.
RDU's in the danger zone. Because Varden's down, Seiko is not just dead in response, therefore it is likely RDU is going to be dead in response in the following turn or so.
Yup. Absolutely. There is the benefit here for RDU, of course, that he did also turbo his own Tamsin. So he is able to pick very aggressively here with life tap and with cards like Backfire. He's pushing himself very quickly towards fatigue here, has no issue clearing up this Varden on the other side, and this is again a massive amount of pressure. Raised Dead is just more burst damage to the opponent at this point.
You are defenders of a doom.
Yeah, it's certainly not looking bad again here for RDU. But 21 isn't exactly safe, right? I know we can see the full cost fireballs and the full cost ignite, but RDU doesn't know that, right? So he's got to toe the line between strong, powerful board presence and also healing.
Yep, quite right.
That is my courage.
Job done.
You get accustomed to the smell.
Ice Barrier, the deadest of draws off the top here.
So he could go
for just too expensive to be able to fit in with basically what was his opening hand at this point. Everything that hasn't been discounted by the 2 incanters flows that he found.
Interesting. Okay. That's nice. I was going to say, did he want to ever ignite first and then draw? But I'll be honest, I half forgot there was a fire sale in the deck, so you wouldn't want to actually put more cards in there. So nice and clean there from Seiko. He can fire sale this. Probably, obviously can't see the damage numbers for that ignite, but I'm guessing Runed Orb the Giant then to kill it. Has one Thief flexible options as well.
I mean, the ignite is certainly base damage, right? If it's over on the far left-hand side of his hand.
Oh, sure, it's at least, yeah, it's 5,
cards.
yeah.
Only so much time.
Oh, Flame Strike as well was given as an option, doesn't need it, has the fire sale. Sometimes that surprise Flame Strike can be the big kicker in this matchup.
Probably past that point though, you're right. That's one ignite into face. Now ignite off the top would be lethal if RDU sticks around this health total.
Yes. But Tammy 1 Drain Souls are available here. Plenty of targets on the board with that Tour Guide. Or Unstable. It's just lethal, right?
Be 5 though. Oh, with Tammy?
He has Tamsin, yeah.
Yep.
Tammy 1 Unstable, the 1/1 Unstable, the Tamsin. Dead.
RDU? Radu? He knows what the secret is, so there's no fear of counterspell, right? Wasn't that?
As far as I'm aware.
I think that was an Ice Barrier that procced the quest because he didn't get to attack from that point, right?
Okay.
I'm fairly sure.
What is taking so long?
Even then, he still got the mana to drain. I guess Drain Soul would kill a minion, so he couldn't do it then.
Haven't heard me.
Oh! Undrained Soul null?
I mean...
I don't really know what to say, Sol.
Okay. Well, here we are.
Moving on, yeah. So wait, what is that? That's 18 plus whatever the Ignite's at now, so almost certainly not enough this turn.
Curious.
Good thing is, like, to an extent... I guess he has to worry because of the Battlemaster, right? I was going to say, like, the minions don't matter, but they do because Battlemaster's a card. He can beat Ice Barrier, which is the big problem, right? He can leave... I think he can leave Tamsin on the board. If he can't clear it cleanly, but
well, I mean,
I guess the Flames just do the job.
I want to say the fear of leaving Tamsin on the board is that you give your opponent unstable Shadow Blast outs, but I'm not sure RDU knows how that works, so maybe it's fine.
That's what I mean. If it didn't happen that turn, Sol, it's not going to happen. That's how you do it, right? Seiko, I do like this, though. Just get rid of those expensive spells. Get the fireballs out of the way. And now there's a chance that you can go for lethal with this Ignite and the help of the Guild Trader.
Never mind. Never punish.
You're going to see it. He sees it. Seiko's like, wait a minute. Where did that come from?
He looks so pleased with himself as well. Look at his little face.
Looking forward to seeing that tweet later on. RDU does take the victory, even though he opened himself up to very realistically dying, right? Like, he didn't know the fireballs were max cost. He didn't know what the card draw situation was like, what was reduced and what wasn't at that point. So there was a chance he could have died that turn. Pretty scary overall. But hey, he got away with it, Sol, so we're moving on into a game number 3 here. Both players at 1-1. RDU switching over to his Mage again now. He did take a loss with that Mage against the Weapon Rogue in game 1, so he's going to be queuing it up once again. And I do wonder if Seiko's going to go for his Mage into a one of those funky kind of Mage mirrors that you have to try and deal with. Have a look.
Indeed. Certainly could be a little bit awkward if that's what it comes down to.
It is.
I don't think that's a matchup that anyone particularly enjoys playing. But if that's what we're going to have to do, that's what we're going to have to do. You see the reaction there from Seiko at the end as RDU does get there with the Shadow Blast. Again, just to make sure we're covering anything, like the only way that could be defensible is if the secret hadn't been tested for counterspell, right? Then I'd have to rewind and look at the hand and figure out there's a way to play around that, which I'm not sure. But again, whether or not he knew it was barrier, whether it was from the deck or not, I don't think it was. I think it was a generated secret in the end, but whether it procced quest, whether counterspell had already been tested with a spell in the previous turn, like all of these things do matter, but I think that's the only possibility that could function as a defense is that he thought he had the chance of it being counterspell and he was probably favored to win, you know, not going for that risk. But if that wasn't the case, then yeah, it's a pretty disappointing mistake to see from RDU.
Yeah, but it does mean, as I said, that he did get the win, so it didn't punish him in that respect. So even if he didn't know, or even if he did, he got away with it. The win's been done, and we can move on to this next game. Double Mage, though, is a very tricky matchup, and I think it's probably fair to say, Sol, that with a lot of players now sort of going away from the Apexis Blast lists, it's a little bit less unlikely that we just see the burn plan as a plan, as opposed to quest progression.
True. Yeah, no, that is very true. And also, Auctioneer list, also very out of style as well, which, you know, led us to that very interesting Viper game where he threw away the quest and, you know, did end up losing, but looked like he might be onto something with that particular version of the deck as well. These are two very similar, very pure lists with the One Thieves in there instead as the flex cards of choice. So as Raven was alluding to, it's going to be a very pure battle for quest completion. And it does make drawing those One Thieves a very crucial piece of the puzzle because you are going to need those minions to be able to self-blast some of your fire and ice spells at.
Yeah, double benefit as well, right? Because it just makes Springwater that much safer if you can get the One Thieves earlier in the game as well. But for now, no real fireworks, just quest, ping. I imagine RDU's going to kick it off with the Runed Orb. Really looking for castable frost spells here. Cone of Cold, although at least it can target your own minions. Maybe that's just what RDU has to go for, unless he's feeling particularly spicy and goes for Deck of Lunacy.
Alternatively, you decide that you just really don't want to play this matchup and just pick Deck of Lunacy.
Yep.
Ah, yeah. You know, actually, he did have in-canter's Flow in his hand on turn 3. It was just inside a Rune Dog, you know?
Right, yeah.
There you go. Boom, yeah, same thing.
Yep, see?
Yeah, RDU had it in his hand in turn 3. It was just inside an Arcane Intellect. They never miss. RDU's in-canter's Flow affinity now officially part of his player profile as well, which I believe was posted today on the Hearthstone Esports Twitter. There you go.
And it pays off. Ooh, nice brain freeze there for Seiko. Means he can get this one thief brain freeze down this turn if he wants.
Ooh, it's an oof. A medium-sized oof.
At least he can still progress this turn. He still has a plan. His turn wasn't there. Okay, that's funny. Wait, have we ever seen a quad in-canter's Flow?
Yes, I believe once we did.
Oh. It was me thinking I was about to be part of history.
Yeah, I think it was that rare scenario because you very rarely see the 4th one because the 4th one's never really correct to take. But I think it was the first 2 were generated,
right.
And there was still 2 left in the deck, and then the 3rd and 4th got played.
At that point, there's no reason not to play the 4th one because it'll be 0 mana.
I mean, the 3rd one cost 0 back at that point.
I guess true, yeah.
It was 2 mana.
Yeah.
Yeah. That goes in.
Yep, makes sense.
Area coming down. Rolling through questline 1 over into questline 2. RDU making some good progress here.
Still has that card draw with the Arcane Intellect as well, so still got a bit of juice left, never mind, but may or may not come out of that Ruined Orb.
Whereas Seiko is going to use these 2 One Thieves to get his own little bit of progression here.
Oh, I really wanted a Flow. How Flow can you go? Both players keeping fairly even on the quest progression, which is pretty impressive, honestly. Not normally the outcome. I think, or at least a lot of Mage Mirrors I've played, there's one person who gets it and the other person just flails around and dies.
Is the person that flails around and dies, in your experience, you?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty good at Mage. I just hate the mirror with a passion. I hate playing the mirror, so I just lose interest and like watch a show or something while I'm doing it.
RDU's hand is filling up with some very awkward cards to use at this point, although Arcane Intellect is a pretty useful tool to mitigate that.
Yep, I imagine this is Thanos. Great target for Cone of Cold. Cheap enough, draws a card, ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, very true, actually. Ice Barrier, one of the best cards in the deck for this matchup. It does absolutely nothing because a minion never attacks you in the face, and yet that statement is still true.
Ice Barrier 2 on the other hand. Huh. What a load of rubbish.
Go second flame here. Sequencing technically correct. This is probably going to be Ice Barrier next, but there's no reason not to see what the next card is before you do so. Getting all the little things lined up and correct.
Ooh.
Brain freeze, decent. Primordial Studies can come out, pick a cheap option. Brain freeze it to keep going.
Roll loose.
Then have Fire Arcane this turn. Echo's just done.
Yep.
There's only so much time.
Really clean, honestly, and in the mirror, this is fast. I would say, I'm pretty confident saying this is a fast completion in the mirror match.
Absolutely, yep. One thing missing, and that's a Cram session right now. Otherwise, he's got everything he could need in the entire world. You can respond in kind, though.
Yeah, it's so terrifying, though, to be the second person to play dawngrasp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, with both players on 24 exactly, they can be very dead in a dawngrasp world, especially considering both players have played flow as well.
There must be a way.
Yeah, not only flow, but multiple flows, which makes you wonder whether maybe that Cram session that RDU has in hand might just be the X factor here, because it does cost 0 already, and it's going to draw, you know, continuous 0 mana cards from the rest of the deck at that point as well. But it feels like he is just going to be a step or two behind here. Yikes! No way to round this out. Oof. Going to fall short this turn, and now he's in real trouble. If you're going to be 2 entire turns behind, I don't think there's any realistic way that this is going to be caught up.
Yeah, I guess the benefit is he still plays dawngrasp next turn, right?
Yeah.
So he can still kind of be even. He didn't need dawngrasp in his hand this turn to be able to play.
Yeah, and with the hot streak in hand, he actually has a very high cap for overall damage, right?
Right. 0 ignite, 2 mana fireball.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, potentially 0 mana cards off the top as well. If
Yeah.
You know, 0 mana Runed Orb or whatever else.
The good thing as well, he can dump so many of his cards before he Cram sessions, because he can just play double flurry. Like, it just doesn't matter.
That didn't matter.
Oh, no, never mind. As usual, our in-depth analysis gets thrown out the window once someone completes this quest.
He just hit the nuts. He just Cram sessioned into burn. Yeah, no. RDU, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That was a disgusting Cram session to hit on the other side.
Yeah, and that is... Oh, I like that new screen. That's how volatile the matchup really is. I mean, we could see RDU did have a good plan. He got he was set up to get dawngrasp down and at least be competitive. But it's so, like... The dawngrasp that you beat when your opponent plays it first are the ones where they play it, have 3 cards in hand and no card draw, right? Like, they're the ones you can beat. But if they've got Cram session, like, you're just so likely to die. Both players on that 24 damage range. About 800 in-canters flows played as well. Like, yes, it's incredibly likely to die if they have access to card draw. And although a little bit surprised as we were breaking down how to use hand, Seiko just got the job done, and now he has Warlock versus Rogue Subtle. And the big question is, how good is Warlock versus RDU's lineup of what? Mage and Rogue now?
I mean, mediocre at best, I would say.
Medium, great.
Medium, well done in this matchup. But I think overall, the Rogue matchup is contentious. I think all Rogue matchups are contentious because one, it is kind of a very draw-heavy deck. We've seen both sides of the coin in every matchup, right? Field contact opening hand versus no field contact
versus Tice
half of the deck. Yeah, I mean, or even what we see, Alatemu, I think, just scooped a game this morning in APAC because he just didn't hit field contact in a timely manner. So I think it is quite one of those decks that's very hard to quantify in terms of matchup averages. But I think on an average draw, they do tend to go a little bit too quick for the Handlock to be able to compete with, especially what I would call a slightly... Well, I don't know. I don't know whether to describe this as a slower build or a faster build from Seiko overall, right? Because he's got a little bit of extra utility in there that isn't just raw threatage. But one of those cards in particular, Ruined Mithril Rod, might actually make his game plan faster overall. So I don't know if that helps him out or not in the situation.
We'll say Skull Spirits isn't a bad shout. It's like the original Rogue Killer, right? Like, just having that available to him as well. But yeah, I think the matchup's going to be really interesting. Let's just dive straight in. RDU having access to that efficient Octobot. And I was going to say, I know I spoke to you about mulligans on Friday. We mainly focused on the Octobot, the field contact, and then the rest will come sort of thing. But Shroud is another one, right, that I've seen a lot of players just keep because it's 3 mana, draw 2 cards, and at the 3 mana point in any given matchup, as in on turn 3, you're never really looking to pop off with anything else, right? It's normally into turns 4, 5, 6 that things start to really happen.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's absolutely still a keep. I think when we were talking about it before, you want field contact and Octobot is the tagline, but there are other cards in your deck that are a lot more like field contact and Octobot than others, right? Shroud of Concealment, Swindle, those are cards that you can potentially keep as well because they give you those extra opportunities to draw the I win cards.
And are you actually coining it out as well? A little bit surprising to see Rogue use the coin so freely and not in some kind of one big combo or, an increase in mana pool, but just getting double Shroud gone. That's a lot of cards empty in the deck already. And that's how I time a lot of certain matchups now. It's not really about the turn, it's about how many cards are left in the deck. That's how I judge if I'm about to die or not.
More bones to gnaw on.
Seiko is building up some pressure, right? The null generally can't just be ignored. It is going to start dealing 5 every single turn of the game. There's a fear of the Battlemaster as well later on.
There are fears, yes, but this is
Yeah.
freaking 8-card discount here for RTU. Absolutely revolting. Broomstick being used is a kind of an interesting one there over the Guardian Org Merchant. Obviously, Guardian Org Merchant has a little bit of upside later on with particular Divine Shield usage. But I do think the Broomstick in this list is one of the few ways you have to potentially clear giants and other huge minions off the other side of the board, right? Because you do play a lot of 2-1s and 3-2s in a single turn, which can trade very efficiently into an 8-8 on the other side, whereas the other tools that you have available don't often get there as efficiently. But I think, honestly, with the hand RDU has, as long as he's able to find a field contact within the next, probably 3 or 4 turns at this point, he's likely to feel like he's just chilling here. He doesn't have to worry too much about playing defense. He's just looking to be as offensive as possible.
Yeah, Seiko does have a Soul Rend this turn, though, which will dig him deeper towards that bottom 10. He does already have a Baron Scavenger in hand. Can even play the Tour Guide first and Soul Rend and tap to go 6 cards deeper.
True.
I actually really like it if you went for this. Yeah.
A lot of valuable cards still in there is the scary thing, though. Giants still in there, Backfire's still in there, Weapons still in there. There's a Backfire. Otherwise, yeah, not too bad.
I think it was fine, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the important factor is he has a Scavenger in hand, right? Like, he has that guaranteed.
Using Neophyte here to combo the Swindle. He's using the most expensive minion that he has in his hand. He's not particularly concerned about it being a Cult Neophyte this turn. It's just he wants to maintain all these 0 mana cards in his hand for the eventual field contact. He has now drawn 17 cards from his deck while specifically tutoring 6 minions from 2 Shrouds of Concealment and 2 Swindles, and is still yet to hit either the 2 field contacts or the second Octobot.
Right. The second Autobot could be important as well because RDU is also playing a lot of his 2 health cards or multiple more than 1 health card, should I say. So it's something you do look at when you have to stack spell damage. But I guess to be fair, against Warlock, stacking spell damage doesn't normally, or isn't normally a huge factor, because by the time you combo, the Warlock's unlikely to be sat on 30, right? Like, they're normally around like the late teens kind of health.
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
What was that, Giant? I think it was.
It's a Giant. Very nice indeed. Curves out perfectly here with the Null. Actually gets double discount off the quest, so he's 1 mana floating. Unacceptable. I played the Giant first. More mana efficient that way.
And every turn of the game, honestly, I think from now, Seiko will just be like, oh, please don't kill me this turn. Please don't kill me this turn. I think it'll be a fair, it's fair to expect that he could just be dead, right? In this position.
Oh, 12 cards left, 6 mana. It would be ambitious, for sure. But certainly I think the fear is there on the other side. Whether or not
Maybe
it's
next
rational
turn it
fear,
starts.
I don't know.
Maybe next turn.
Right. But RDU is just starting to hit a spot of bother with the real problem part of the deck, right? Which is no field contact, no party. And he's kind of out of card draw at this point, outside of exactly the field contact. Because Secret Passage is not really something you can use to fish a field contact out of your deck, right? Because generally you want to be using the field contact with all the cards you have in your original hand. It's possible that you can hit a nutty passage that allows you to go off, but then you still need to find the second one after that.
I think it's more fair to say that you would Secret Passage, say, next turn, and if he got a field contact, he uses that to find the other field contact faster, right? Like, it might help you cycle, but yes, if you Secret Passage into field contact, that contact isn't the one that's going to combo and win the game.
Yes.
Yeah, you are right. Seiko now has got down to 10, and, well, okay. It's a lot of cards. Nice and cheap. Does have the Baron Scavenger. He does have Drained Soul as well. Are there any big sort of damage health pool numbers you need to look out for like a cheeky Garrote turn, or do you think the Rogue will almost always wait until they just kill you guaranteed? Yeah,
I think as long as you're staying above 10 to 15, right? And even then, those situations only tend to come up where our RDU, you present lethal on board, right? Like, let's say you drop all of these giants and a Baron Scavenger this turn and you just have a Giga board that can't get answered, right? In that position, if the Rogue has no other play, they might just go spell damage, shadow step, spell damage, the maximum spell damage, and then just try and draw 2 or 3 Garrotes out of their remaining 12 cards to win the game. But generally, outside of that, I think it's way too nebulous what the number you need to stay above is, right?
I mean, that's what I was asking, right? Because the numbers vary dramatically when it's not a 0-card deck, if that makes sense.
Yep.
There's Octo. No draw.
Won't transcribe what RDU shouted there in reaction to the second giant, but it was not in Romanian.
It was oh gosh.
That's it. You nailed it.
Okay, well there's field contact and a Plunderer and a Shadow Step.
And a Shadow Step. Okay. Shadow Step does cost mana though. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's enough. 3, 4. Ah, no, he's off, right? Oh yeah, we'll be able to play the Plunderer anyway, right? So at least he gets 2 Plunderers even with this Shadow Step.
Yes, but the second one doesn't do nearly enough to answer the Giants, right? Which means RDU is getting happy cowed out of existence next turn.
Yeah. That's 20 on offer now, so on paper, he has a chance.
I mean,
off paper, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, 22. I just thought it has 4 attack for some reason, the Scavenger. But we can see, of course, that the newly crowned and announced Happy Cow. We'll pick a new name next week. Send some in. Seiko gets the victory there versus RDU, and the victory overall this week. What a great week for him there, bringing this lineup that I think was very, very cool and very insightful as well. We saw it every single match Seiko played. The more you watch him play, the more you're like, oh yeah, this is looking pretty horrible for his opponent once you start, lining up the matchups. So really impressive overall there for Seiko, and a much needed win, honestly. Just banking those 5 points is going to propel him into a much greater range of safety, at least going into week 4 next week.
Yeah, and I think I said right at the start of the broadcast that Seiko's had a fairly quiet season so far, and I think that's honestly just a good way to describe Seiko as the person. I think he is a very quiet, unassuming individual. I know very little about him as a person. He's not a big social media user. I pretty much know that his name is Lin. People that know him well call him Lin all the time, and he likes sleeping. That's basically all of the things that I know about Seiko. But I don't know, for example, whether he is enthusiastic about this metagame, which is a very divisive talking point right now, right? Some players, even in the competitive scene, still very much dislike this meta, while some people are absolutely loving it. And I'm kind of curious as to whether Seiko is one of those players that's finding success in this metagame because they are enjoying it. But however he has got here, the big story is that he has picked up a weekly championship. He did deny RDU his big claim of saying that Celestial